it was an experience like no other. From
All
to be
right,
in
what's
the
up, y'all?
surroundings, it just kind of, it was a beautiful thing.
Just before 1:20 a.m., Fallon and her mother paused to take a photograph, a memento of a wonderful night. A massive explosion knocked Fallon and her mother to the ground.
After the explosion, it was chaos. You never forget that moment afterwards, and I ran towards anybody who could help. I probably got about 15 feet away from my mother. And it was like, lay down, lay down. And I was like, my mother, somebody's got to help my mother.
44-year-old Alice Hawthorne had died instantly from injuries sustained in the attack. Although hundreds were injured, she was the only person killed by the bomb planted at Centennial Park. A task force of federal and state investigators was quickly assembled to apprehend the terrorists behind the vicious attack. Over the next 7 months, Atlanta was subjected to 2 more bombings, but an even more disturbing trend had developed. The bomber was not planning a device, apparently designed to harm police and rescue personnel who responded to victims of the first bomb. Added to the frustrations of police, investigations did not indicate a specific suspect.
We're building a good prosecutable court case.
What up, one viewer?
Forensic evidence we had where we tied bombs together, but we still didn't know they had done to the bomb. We didn't know who it was.
FBI and ATF technicians meticulously reconstructed the devices and found forensic links between all 3 bombings. In the wake of the third incident, authorities received letters from the so-called Army of God claiming responsibility for the last 2 bombings, attacks on a family planning an abortion clinic, and a gay and lesbian nightclub.
In the letters, he got it. Look at that time. So when the letters were written by the bomber,
those who participate in any way in the murder of children may be targeted for attack. We will target sodomites, their organizations, and all those who push their agenda. We will target all facilities and personnel of the federal government.
they got 3 very distinct different groups of people that were targets. And so, we began to wonder exactly who his targets were.
What up, whoever's
An
watching
FBI profiler analyzed the letters and the details of all 3 bombings.
on JDA?
The bomber's true target was law enforcement.
Was at the end of the day, and GMC trucks weren't getting overnight. Like every American achievement, they are a result of dedication. Over 100 years dedicated to the art of engineering and the ambition to always move this country forward. It's representing APR plus 3,100 total value on this Sierra 1500 model. Plus, current eligible GMC owners get an additional 3,500 purchase allowance.
This red light of mine has been dark for quite some time. Then I lit in the light to help see more than I inside.
Caplita.
Antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplita.
Caplita.
Greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone. Building on my progress without starting over. Weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplita is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor.
Caplita.
Mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Caplita.
Can I get your perspective as a man of the law?
We know the law cop, right?
Let's say I obtain a car for less than you think it costs.
I don't follow.
You see this on next other thing?
Yeah.
Guess how much I paid for it?
Enjoy the car.
You're so right. That's your fault. Sales event right now. They get a sales event. These are a Elantra SE for only $149 a month. Hurry, offers end soon.
Now back to Unsolved Mysteries.
Birmingham, Alabama, 11 months after the third Atlanta bombing. Head nurse Emily Lyons arrived early for work at a women's health and abortion clinic. Often, Officer Robert Sanderson was working there as a security guard.
Anyway, what are you doing? We met on the sidewalk in front of the clinic and we talked for a moment.
Just then, they spotted something that looked strangely out of place.
There was an overturned flower pot kind of buried a little bit, and that was not anything we would have ever had. So at that point, Sandy knew something was wrong.
What up, two viewers?
Apparently sensing danger, Sanderson instructed Emily.
Oh, one of them's a bot on Twitch. Oh.
The explosion killed security guard Robert Sanderson instantly. Emily Lyons lost her left eye in the explosion.
Oh.
Dozens of masonry nails and screws tore through 90% of her body.
Oh, man.
Robert Sanderson left behind a wife and 2 sons. He had been a Birmingham police officer for 8 years. Task force members immediately believed the man they were hunting had achieved his objective, the murder of a law enforcement officer. But this time the authorities caught a break. Forensics would later reveal that the bomber had detonated this device by remote control, which meant one thing: the bomber was there.
The bomber was there.
That increased his chances of killing police officers, but it also directly increased his chances of being a good time to call.
Just after the explosion, a witness saw a man walking away from the scene. When the man removed the wig and discarded it, the witness became suspicious and began pursuing him on foot. The witness observed the suspicious man getting into a pickup truck, and before losing him, relayed the license plate number to police. The gray Nissan truck was traced to a man named Eric Rudolph, who resided in western North Carolina. A warrant was issued for the arrest of the 31-year-old Rudolph.
Busted.
Investigators learned where Eric Rudolph lived. An FBI SWAT team raided Rudolph's trailer. The trailer's air conditioner was still running and food was still on the table. Investigators believe they missed Eric Rudolph by minutes.
He told friends and associates when he was a teenager that if he got in trouble with law enforcement, he would disappear into the mountains. And we feel this is something that he was planning for a long time.
250 law enforcement officers converged on the Manta Gila National Forest after Rudolph's truck was found abandoned nearby. But Eric Rudolph had vanished.
He grew up in the woods. He knew the terrain much better than we did. And there are places that we knew very well that we could have walked within 5 feet of him. And we would not have seen him.
Eric Rudolph would prove a formidable adversary. Investigators learned he'd been raised in a family that reportedly preached white separatism. The experienced outdoorsman and survivalist had also served in the U.S. Army. Deborah Rudolph was married to Eric's brother and had known Eric since he was a teenager.
I never really heard him talk about positive things. It was a lot of hateful things, a lot of negativity, about, authority and, our gun laws and government and politics.
The last known sighting of Eric Rudolph was made by a man who had known Rudolph for years. George Nordman was a local health food store owner who lived in a remote mountain cabin.
What the hell are you doing? I need your help. when Eric approached him about food stuff, George made the decision not to help Eric, and I believe it became somewhat fright-buzzing.
2 nights later, Nordman's home warehouse was raided and several hundred pounds of food in a truck was stolen. It was believed Rudolph had made a return visit. Eric Rudolph has not been seen since July 1998.
Eric Rudolph was not a joiner. We found no evidence that he ever was a member of a militia. He was someone who had a streak of paranoia about him. He also liked being alone. So we don't believe that any group is helping him.
I think this is a game to him. He wanted to be in special forces. He wanted to be a mercenary. He is a one-man army, and he has got the authorities running around looking for him, spending millions of dollars.
The alleged victims of Eric Rudolph's bombs have moved on, but will never forget.
The end for me will be to find him, and it'll be a beginning of a whole nother book, but it'll be an end to that book. Not just signed like it's a long time coming.
Update. Eric Rudolph was finally arrested in 2003, pleaded guilty, and was sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences along with 120 years for various bombings.
As they struck out for their new life in Denver, Colorado, Deborah Loisel and her fiancé Jason Horsley were brimming with optimism about what this move would bring. Having been raised in rural areas, the college sweethearts were excited with the prospects of living in a big city for the first time. Deborah and Jason would eventually purchase a house in one of Denver's tree-lined inner-city neighborhoods. They quickly fell in love with their new surroundings. All was well, until one afternoon, a short time after they moved in, Deborah had a strange encounter with a neighbor.
We're gonna be neighbors, so let's get along.
Deborah would later learn her angry neighbor was Malika Griffin, a woman who rented a room in the house next door.
When you can't talk to someone, it's kind of scary. It just made no sense that someone should start attacking us this way.
Jason Horsley and Deborah Loisel had realized every young couple's dream of buying their own home. But their optimism would soon dim with the discovery that their innocent purchase had caused them to cross paths with a rational neighbor, Malika Griffin. As police later discovered, Griffin was a ticking time bomb that could go off at any moment.
We'll be right back.
This little light of mine has been dark for quite some time. Then I let in the light to help see more than I said.
Caplita.
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplita.
Caplita.
Greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone. Building on my progress without starting over. Weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of
What up, y'all?
Caplita is not approved for dementia.
Caplita.
Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts.
This little bit of hair over here is getting on my nerves, sticking out.
Confusion, stiffness, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur.
I need a haircut.
Side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea.
Ask your doctor about Caplita.
Caplita.
Get up, Red. You're about to get down. Family tree is more like a crazy bush. I'm starting to get nervous. Sweat like that. Just think about it.
NBC's Happy Place. Watch now on Peacock.
Now back to Unsolved Mysteries.
Deborah and Jason were committed to making the best of a bad situation, happily pouring time and money into transforming a former crack house into their new home. They had actually put the incident with Malika Griffin behind them, but without any provocation, she became enraged again. Although she didn't own the car, Griffin didn't want anyone parking in the public space in front of the house. Attempts at reasoning with her proved futile.
You can't live in fear of your own house. And it wasn't anything about the neighborhood. I mean, it was just this one woman, you know. I never felt threatened in my neighborhood.
Within days, Jason was confronted again.
What's the problem?
He had asked the landlady of the house if he could put the ladder there, and she said, yes, go ahead. Well, Malika didn't know, or she didn't want to know, that the lady had said, yeah, go ahead and put it there.
He couldn't see the evil. He didn't understand the evil. His philosophy was, you get to know me, you won't hate me. And I tried to explain to him, some people don't want to know you.
What up? I did
Even though
have
the
two
anger
viewers
behind the
on.
confrontation was escalating, Jason still believed he could win over Malika.
No, I'm gonna get some of that tools in the truck.
When I got home, I said, don't go out there. Don't go. And he said, no, I'm going to clean my truck. So I went out back to water the flowers.
There was no doubt in Deborah's mind who was responsible. The neighbor drove Jason to the hospital. The bullet had caused extensive internal injuries. While emergency room doctors struggled to save Jason's life, Deborah was questioned by police.
We just got it. Jason didn't make it.
Investigators later learned that while Deborah was being questioned, Malika Griffin carjacked an acquaintance several blocks from the murder scene.
Malika Griffin took the keys at gunpoint.
She then fled Denver in the victim's 1988 Oldsmobile. When Denver police searched the home of Malika Griffin, detectives were stunned by what they found.
We found books and paperwork that she had on how to make bombs and booby traps. We also found dummy hand grenades. The fuse was intact, but the cords had been removed.
The anarchist cookbook and the poor man's James Bond manuals often found in the collections of terrorists were among the literature recovered at the scene. Notebooks filled with Griffin's writings, advocating a coming race war and the killing of white people, were also discovered. Authorities now believe they had confirmation a racially motivated killer was on the loose.
She eluded our dragnet. The next time we found that car was approximately 2.5 days later in Iowa City, where the car had broken down. She befriended a man in Iowa City. He took her to a bus station and put her on a bus for Chicago.
After Chicago, Malika Griffin's trail grew cold. Since then, there have been no verifiable sightings.
You lose a kid, you think about him all the time. Every hour, every day.
I had future plans with Jason, He was an extremely positive person, so I tried to
live my life the way he would. I'm not gonna feel sorry for myself and I keep going on. He never hurt anybody. I'll meet someone like him again.
The FBI arrested Malachi Griffin and I couldn't read that. Life without the possibility of parole.
On rare occasions, the world has been introduced to children who possess seemingly mysterious powers to excel in the worlds of art and science. Mozart began composing at the age of 5. Bobby Fischer competed with chess grandmasters when he was only 6. The incredible talents of such young geniuses have fascinated and puzzled scholars for centuries. What can possibly explain the phenomenon of child prodigies? Meet Jessica Constant of Queens, New York. She may look like a typical teenager, but at 14, she's already a college student. Jessica attends New York City Technical College, where she has studied since she was 12 years old.
Oh, I used to hate the first days because I would have to walk into class and everybody would be staring at me. I was so scared, but now I'm used to it. I want to become a doctor, but I'm going to become a nurse before. Microbiology and child psychology are the only 2 courses I have left before I enter the nursing program. Then after I do 2 years of that, I get my associate's degree. Then I'm going to go on to medical school.
But Jessica's interests are not solely confined to academics. Jessica is also an accomplished cellist who attends the prestigious Juilliard School of Music. Along with her 2 older brothers, she makes up the Constant Trio. Jessica, Daniel, and Pierre have performed at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. Remarkably, neither parent has any musical talent themselves, and they are awed by the artistry of their children.
Sometimes when I look at the kid playing, I wish I could have been the one playing instead of having to listen. I never thought I would have it in my own house. When I see the kid doing 3 years together, it's fantastic. It's kind of like a dream come true for me.
What mysterious set of circumstances contributes to a child having such extraordinary talents? David Henry Feldman, professor of child development at Tufts University, has studied the phenomenon of child prodigies.
What causes prodigies? Seems to be a combination of timing and talent and the right circumstances, all occurring during the same moment and sustaining itself for at least 10 years. Prodigy is a child with unusual talent who appears in a society that has value for that talent.
Feldman notes that very few scientific studies have been performed relating to child prodigies. Knowledge base is extremely limited. Recently, a change has been observed in relation to the gender of the typical prodigy. However, that change may be a matter of media publicity.
There have historically been more boys than girls who have been called prodigies. In recent years, that has tended to reverse itself such that there are now pretty much an equal number of boy and girl prodigies in music. If you want to say that's why such a change occurred, the answer is because society has taken an interest in finding girl prodigies.
As amazing as Jessica Constant is, once in a great while, a child prodigy will be born with even a rarer type of genius, one which expresses itself in many areas at once. At age 12, Albert Wong of Carrollton, Texas, is so smart he no longer attends school at all. Albert is already an accomplished violinist, teaches himself a wide variety of subjects from college textbooks, and is famous in the world of music as a concert pianist.
It's very rare when you find a musical prodigy.
What up, three
Very rare when you
viewers?
find a child who is so talented that they need to move at such a rapid pace. The combination of those two things in one is extreme. Each appears separately, infrequently. The combination appears almost never.
Albert Wong first displayed his mysterious musical talents when he was just 3 years old. He already won the grand prize in the Dallas piano competition for children up to 18. Wanting to nurture the only child's mystical gift, Albert's parents took him shopping for a concert grand piano of his own.
To check the piano, I believe I was playing the beat. So about the third piano I was playing.
Actually, himself is a professional musician. He will introduce himself as Sam Believer. He works to say that Albert is very talented and is the right teacher for him.
Albert began taking lessons at once. Eventually, Albert came under the tutelage of renowned former prodigy Earl Watt. New York's world-famous Carnegie Hall.
What up, y'all?
At the conclusion of Earl Watt's performance celebrating his 85th birthday, 10-year-old Albert Wong was invited on stage to present his esteemed instructor in the bouquet. Mr. Watt stunned everyone, especially Albert, by announcing that Albert would be playing an impromptu piece. Albert's performance of Hummel's Rondo in E-flat major brought down the house. That same year, still at age 10, Albert recorded his first CD. The work received rave reviews. One critic wrote, "An impressive debut for any musician. For a 10-year-old, it is astonishing." Professor Feldman has reviewed many theories attempting to explain talents like Albert's, ranging from the scientific to the supernatural.
The prodigy has always represented the unexplained. There are some who believe that the prodigy phenomenon should not be studied scientifically. In the absence of an explanation that meets rational criteria, we look for an explanation wherever we can find one. And reincarnation is attractive because it seems to account for some of the unbelievable and unexplainable parts of the prodigy.
Could Albert Wong's musical gifts possibly have begun in a previous life? The mere notion seems incredible, but Albert himself does not dismiss the possibility of his own existence in a past life.
I must have done something good in order to accept it. Hammering in king from all sides, so there's no escape route.
But as founding as Albert's musical gifts were to his parents, they quickly learned he also possessed an extraordinary aptitude for math and science. His mother feared he'd get bored with a conventional education, so she gave up her career to homeschool Albert.
I used to get up at 3 or 4 in the morning to prepare myself to teach Albert fast enough. Now I don't have to do it because Albert is old enough to be independent. So my life is much easier now.
When Albert developed a strong interest in science, his mother searched for someone qualified to guide him to higher levels of learning.
Can you show me on your drawing the Y direction?
She found that person in a professor of physics at a local college.
Yes, you have an inverted coordinate system in order to comply with that.
I think the biggest thing in terms of working with Albert is that you never have to say something twice. Whatever mistake he might make, he's made it the last time he's going to make it.
Of the three sciences, physics, chemistry, and biology, is my own belief that physics is the most difficult of all the sciences. That every other science ranges from physics. Biology is physics applied to living organisms, and chemistry is physics applied to chemical reactions, atoms, molecules, and macromolecules.
Albert's insatiable hunger for learning is not limited to music and science.
Well, I love to study and I love to read books. I love studying Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet. Every time I study it, I come to new literary elements that are very tasty, delicious.
Where could the stirring talents of Albert Wong come from?
Neither his mom or my family had any clue or any relatives in the families who had ever been a musician or even good in one instrument at all.
We know that there have been amazing prodigy cases through history. So we know that from time to time, such individuals appear. What we don't know is what the causes underlying the appearance of prodigies might be. Are they genetic? Are they evolutionary? Are they cultural? Are they historical? Are they something that's a combination of all of those things? Those are questions we don't know the answers to. Although we hope to understand the prodigy better in the 21st century, it remains a mystery.
Damn. That kid could play the piano. He could tickle the ivories if you will. Caplita.
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplita. Proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone. Building on my progress without starting over. Weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased.
I'm gonna ask my doctor about Caplita.
Related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplita.
Caplita.
Life is full of surprises. That's why we're keeping your internet price the same with the 5-year price guarantee, only from Xfinity. Xfinity, imagine that.
Ah, shit. I'll crack this other beer. Caplita.
There are few places left in America where doors are always unlocked and parents have no fear of letting their children run about freely. Warren, Massachusetts, population 4,800, is just such a place. The town's rural charm and quaint innocence seemed the perfect time.
I'm worried about this homie of mine.
Violence had suddenly invaded their neighborhood in Detroit.
I don't know if he got picked up by the police or attacked by a bear or what.
Facts unfolded, and she was abducted and was missing. And my husband and I thought, let's move to the country and find our peace. And raise our children.
The Bishes flourished in Warren.
The Bishes.
15 years after the move, the two older children went off to college. And the baby of the family, 16-year-old Molly, landed her first real job as a lifeguard at a nearby pond.
Molly was very proud to be a lifeguard. She worked very hard for that, and she did get this position at the Warren Pond. It's a beautiful location, but it's surrounded by woods and it is somewhat isolated.
On June 27, 2000, Maggie accompanied Molly to the pond, said goodbye to her daughter, and returned home. Maggie received an alarming phone call.
Hello? No, she's not.
I got a phone call from the local police who said that there been no lifeguard all day.
No, I dropped her off there myself.
And that Molly's belongings were on the beach, but there had been no Molly.
Maggie rushed to the pond. She found her daughter's flip-flops, chair, and lunch sitting on the beach. There was no sign of Molly.
Molly done disappeared.
Came up and she had a whistle on, and she said, "They've been a lifeguard. I've been doing it all day." And there's a lot of confusion. It was like a bad movie. Nobody knew what's going on.
Molly gone.
It's hard for me to describe the sinking, hollow feeling you have as divers are looking for your daughter. As dogs are combing the woods.
Molly dead, bitch.
Police officers are searching and interviewing people. And I almost immediately began to think that something really horrible happened.
There was no sign of any struggle at the scene. There were no clues left behind. Molly's chair, her lunch bag, her first aid kit, and the two-way police radio was just right there, intact, undisturbed. So we had no clues whatsoever.
Maggie Bish and her husband John had done everything possible to ensure their daughter Molly's safety. But apparently even that was not enough. Now the energy Maggie once poured into motherhood is being channeled into discovering Molly's fate. Maggie is convinced her daughter was abducted. In fact, she may have seen the man responsible. It happened the day before Molly disappeared. On June 26, 2000, Maggie accompanied Molly to the pond for her 7th day of work.
Today's the first day the kids are coming. Yeah.
We pull up at the pond, and there's a vehicle parked in the parking lot right next to our car. There's a man sitting in there smoking. I somehow just feel uncomfortable. I look at this man. He doesn't nod or greet me. I just felt uneasy. I did not want to leave Molly with this man in the white car.
Maggie escorted Molly all the way down to the beach and expected the stranger in the late model white car to be gone when she got back.
Lo and behold, I think I've been gone a reasonable time. But this man who was in this vehicle is still there. I'm very upset that he's still there. So I lock eyes with him. I am giving him a stare, trying, I guess, to maybe scare him away. But at the same time, he returns this stare and just boldly stares at me. He just cocky as all. He just squinted his eyes and he stared at me. He just kept smoking. He didn't seem to care.
Fearing for her daughter's safety, Maggie waited for the man to leave. The following day, Maggie once again went with her daughter to the swimming pool.
Have a good day, honey.
The suspicious man was nowhere to be seen. Instead, there was a truck unloading sand for the beach.
When I seen the sand truck, I realized that this was a local company. We know that they are businessmen in town, and I felt relief. And then I could leave Molly, and it would be okay.
But Maggie never saw Molly again. The police investigation centered on the man Maggie saw in the white car. The sand truck driver saw a similar car in the pond parking lot just moments before Molly and Maggie arrived. On the other side of the pond is a cemetery. A worker there saw a similar white car later the same morning. A path leads from the graveyard to the swimming pool.
And it's my fear that this person parked at that path, went to the pond, and had taken Molly, took control of her, and took her out of the beach through that path into his car and out of the cemetery and down the road.
Despite setting up roadblocks, searching crime databases, and interviewing convicted sex offenders, police were unable to identify the man in the white car. A composite based on Maggie's description produced no reliable leads.
This is the picture that shows of Molly on the website.
Desperate to generate any information, Maggie and her husband took action.
We wanted to get an avenue to get Molly's picture out to as many people as we could. The computer. We came up with the idea an email chain would be a wonderful explosive way to make more than one person, get this picture and keep sharing it with others.
35,000 people were emailed pictures of Molly. A website devoted to finding her received thousands of hits. But 1 year passed, and the search for Molly had stalled. Maggie decided there was more she could do. She tracked down famed sketch artist Gene Boylan, who's worked on the Unabomber and Polly Klaas cases. Gene agreed to meet Maggie at a local bed and breakfast with the hopes of producing a more accurate drawing of the man in the white car.
So what was it about this man that drew your attention to him?
When Maggie came in to work with me, what I tried to do, and what she was willing to do, was to talk about the positive aspects of her relationship with her daughter, which were plentiful.
When she finally could fit into my shoes,
It allows for that sense of relaxation, and then with that comes more information.
typical 16-year-old.
What else can you remember about this man?
For 9 hours, the two women chatted as Gene slowly weaved the portrait.
The mouth and
Finally, the drawing was complete.
It's just like him.
Although impressed with its uncanniness, Maggie still felt something was missing.
It's amazing. The only thing that's missing is the cigarette and the way he held that cigarette the whole time.
Well, you know what? You've had a really long day. I don't want to put you through anything else today. Why don't I work on that tonight? And then I'll bring it down tomorrow morning. You can let me know what you think. You want to do it that way?
Thank you. And I had stayed up fairly late that night, using my own hand as a model, creating the image of the hand holding the cigarette, and then added that to the drawing. And I think that was just sort of the finishing touch that really brought everything into focus.
morning. Hi, how'd you sleep?
The next morning, Gene showed the updated drawing to Maggie.
Well, what do you think?
When I saw the completed picture with the cigarette, I thought instant fear. I mean, it was him. The eyes, it was this cockiness, it was this look.
The Bishops hope the new composite drawing of the suspect will lead them to Molly.
We want this person to know, and we'll never stop searching for her. and that we will never stop searching for him. I'm very angry. I'm very angry. And that anger is going to drive me on forever. I won't stop.
Molly's disappearance has transformed Maggie and her husband into staunch child safety advocates.
There's somebody out there who
Their fight has now expanded beyond Molly to help prevent any child from becoming a victim.
We're educating people, we're giving them tools, and the kids are going to get smarter, and they're not going to get our children. Because you can lose your glasses, but how do you lose your children in America? Something is wrong, very wrong. And it can happen here, it can happen anywhere.
Her remains were found.
Join me next time. You hold the crucial clue that can help solve the mystery.
The road can be a wild place. All kinds of drivers out there. That's why Progressive Snapshot personalizes your insurance rate based on your driving. So you're not stuck paying for someone else's mistakes. What? Is there something wrong with my hair?
This little light of mine has been dark for
Check
quite
later.
some time. Then I let in the light to help me over the lights.
Check later.
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplyta, proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone. Building on my progress without starting over, weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries.
The legend of Bugsy Siegel. Handsome, sexy, cold-blooded killer. One night in Beverly Hills, Mafia's hunter became the hunted. In Southern California, rain-slick roads lead to a brush with death. In New Jersey, another accident terrifying and nearly fatal. Soon after, both drivers claimed they could predict the future. Can a car crash make you suddenly psychic? For Marlis Thomas, it should have been the happiest day of her life. The doctors dropped a bombshell. Her seemingly healthy baby had died. Today, a series of baffling contradictions have
I've
led
seen
Marlis to
this
believe the impossible.
episode.
Her daughter may still be alive. For generations, the streets of Queens, New York have seen aspiring gangsters come and go. But according to the FBI, Paulie Ragusa is one of a kind, a would-be wise guy, intent on making a name for himself by whatever means possible. Join me as we try to help authorities and the families of crime victims bring closure to unsolved mystery.
But with Diana Green willing to testify that her husband was the perpetrator, it would be up to a jury to decide. In 1980, Kevin Green went on trial for rape, attempted murder, and for second-degree murder in the death of his unborn child. Diana Green testified that she and Kevin had an argument. He wanted sex. She said no. Diana said Kevin hit her, then left the bedroom. A few minutes later, she said Kevin came back into the bedroom. Then savagely beat and raped her.
She was the chief witness against him. And it's not unusual in lots of types of criminal cases to have there just be essentially one witness for the prosecution because of the nature of certain crimes and the way they occur.
Kevin Green told the jury a different story. He said they had consensual sex. Later, when he went out for hamburgers, he saw a dark-skinned man lingering near his apartment. The man got into a black Dodge van and drove away.
When I pulled into that parking lot, I noticed him reaching for the door of the van and kind of had his head hidden behind his arm that way. And I thought that was kind of weird, but still, I didn't have any clue as to why he would be wanting to do that.
But it was Diana Green's powerful courtroom testimony that swayed the jury.
The police believed her, the judge believed her, the prosecutor believed her, and 12 jurors believed her. And for us now to sit there and look back and say, boy, you guys, what were you, a bunch of lunatics? Well, no.
Diana Green, the wife, was such a convincing witness. And she was so strong in front of the jury and so adamant that this was the man that attacked her, that you had a very emotional trial and a very convincing witness.
Kevin Green was found guilty of attempting to murder his wife and killing his unborn baby. He was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison.
At trial, all they really needed her to do was point the finger. This is the victim, a pitiful, injured, hurt girl. Young and beautiful, and not as able anymore, and it's obvious. And the jury sits there with that picture in their mind. Of her identifying her attacker, she can't get it wrong in their head because she's identifying her husband.
Kevin Green was sent to Soledad Prison, a maximum security institution that is home to the most violent offenders in the state of California.
It is a mean place to be. And this was reality. I could not live in fantasy of one day this will all get worked out. And as I saw what happened around me, to other people, to my case, to my family, I got mad. I got angry. I got thrown in a hole because 5 guys wanted to kill me one day because I was in prison for the death of a baby.
Kevin Green was convinced that the man he saw standing outside his apartment on the night of the attack had something to do with his wife's assault. But he had no idea who he was and absolutely no way to prove his theory. Time passed. Kevin Green spent 8 long years in prison. All of his appeals were exhausted. Soon, he became eligible for parole. But there was a catch. Kevin Green would have to admit that he was guilty of the assault on his wife. He refused, even though it meant staying in prison.
Part of their problem was I couldn't say I did it. I wouldn't mess up. 2 years later, I went back to the parole board again.
And again, parole was denied.
The only thing I knew I could do to feel better was to die.
In Soledad Prison, Kevin Green made an important decision. Rather than admit to committing this crime, he would commit suicide.
For some reason, I stopped. And I said to myself, I said, God, I can't do this anymore. I need help. For me, that was me asking God for help. And I got calm. Head to my feet, calm. And all the little lights started going on. I started to understand what my life was happening to me in my life. God gave me this to deal with because I could. Everybody around me was dealing with it because they can and they need to. Don't know why. God's plan for me included this.
But Kevin Green would spend 16 years in prison for a crime he says he didn't commit, until finally he got an answer to his prayers.
The answer to his prayers.
So, when you need a new appliance, you need it fast. So we offer next day delivery of hundreds of appliances. Plus, members save more, and we'll haul away your old one. When you need it fast, we've got you covered. Shop Lowe's today. We help, you save.
Opening day. Another chance to chase the bird. That wonderful feeling. Yeah. This will be the one. Have an opening day every day at a reading club.
This little light of mine has been dark for quite some time. Then I let in the light to help me more than
The
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplyta, proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone. Building on my progress without starting over, weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
more of the light inside me.
So, when you need a new appliance, you need it fast. So we offer next day delivery of hundreds of appliances. Plus, members save more, and we'll haul away your old one. When you need it fast, we've got you covered. Shop Lowe's today. We help, you save.
Now back to Frenzy Fire.
Sergeant Tom Tarpley of the Tustin, California Police Department was assigned to investigate some unsolved murder cases with the idea that new DNA testing could help solve some of the cases. He reopened the files of the so-called bedroom basher, the cases of 5 women who had been raped and murdered by an unknown assailant. Tarpley's research uncovered the fact that one of the victims of the bedroom basher, Deborah Kennedy, was raped and murdered in the same neighborhood, in the same week, and with the same MO as Diana Green's attack.
Almost identical victims, identical locations. They're only 7 or 8 days apart. It's hard to not think that they're related. So I looked into the cases enough to where it bothered me that I felt the 2 cases were related.
First, Sergeant Tarpley needed to find out whether all 5 cases were committed by the same individual. So Tarpley sent all 5 semen samples for DNA testing. Scientists confirmed that all 5 unsolved rape murders had been committed by the same individual. Since 1994, DNA samples from all individuals convicted of a sex offense in California were entered into a computer database. In an unbelievable stroke of luck, the DNA from the so-called bedroom basher matched an inmate already serving time in a California prison. His name was Gerald Parker, imprisoned for the rape of a 14-year-old girl. When confronted with the DNA evidence, Gerald Parker confessed to being the notorious bedroom basher. But Sergeant Tarpley didn't stop there. During his interrogation, Tarpley asked Parker if the name Diana Green rang a bell.
That's when I noticed a kind of a change in his whole manner. He seemed to take an interest. He knew a lot about the Green case, which I thought was very unusual. He wasn't really talking about the other cases, but he said that he had read about that case and he followed it on the radio, and he knew that a Marine had been convicted of that case. And that kind of stuck in the back of my mind too. I noticed I got a rise out of it, and I kept going after it.
Gerald Parker had also been in the Marines. After thinking a few minutes, Parker told Sergeant Tarpley that there was something he needed to get off his chest, something that had been bothering him for 16 years. Parker said he was outside the Greens' apartment on September 30th, 1979, and heard the couple argue. After Kevin Green left for hamburgers, Parker admitted that he entered the Greens' apartment with a 2x4 through an unlocked door. The mystery of why Diana Green identified her husband as her attacker. When Parker stood at the bedroom door, Diana Green sat up with a look of recognition. He assumed it was her husband in the doorway and went back to sleep. Parker described how he struck Diana Green. Gerald Parker was the man Kevin Green saw outside his apartment on the night of the assault.
Parker was a Marine, Green was a Marine, and there was that little Marine Corps bond.
Sergeant Tarpley personally delivered the news of Parker's confession to Kevin Green.
For a moment, I was just overwhelmed. I mean, I actually slumped in my chair, and Tom has described it that I started crying. I don't remember that. It's possible.
The semen sample from Diana Green had not been kept refrigerated in the 16 years since the trial, but it was sent for DNA testing anyway. Scientists used a process called PCR, which can analyze tiny bits of DNA, even samples which are badly degraded. The semen recovered from Diana Green matched Gerald Parker. Ironically, the DNA technology which exonerated Kevin Green had been available for 12 of the last 16 years of his incarceration. Just hours after the DNA test, Kevin Green was released from prison after 16 long years. Today, Gerald Parker sits on death row. Dr. Green lives in California, is remarried, but still has residual neurological problems stemming from the attack. Kevin Green is also remarried, living in Missouri. He has dedicated his life to making sure inmates who claim innocence have access to post-conviction DNA testing.
I think it's an awful miscarriage of justice, but I can see how it happened. I can see how it happened. And nobody did anything wrong. I don't think Diana Green did anything. I think she testified to what she believed was the truth.
The bottom line came down to eyewitness testimony. The victim. Eyewitness testimony isn't always right. And when you've got brain damage on top of it that nobody seemed to want to admit to, it resulted in a conviction. It was 16 years and 3 months before I was released. And I'd still be there today. Today, innocent in prison, if the man who did the crime had not confessed and DNA wasn't available to corroborate his confession. I'd still be there.
Boom, bitches, big reveal. Court TV. Film Rise. Forensic Files will be right back. Sempiowa.
Then I let in the light to help me more than
I know more from
Later.
antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplyta, proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone. Building on my progress without starting over, weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants will increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Thursday night football. Thursday night. It's on right. In a shot.
Get up, Red. You're about to get down. My family tree is more like a crazy bush. I'm starting to get nervous sweat.
NBC's Happy's Place. Watch now on Peacock. On the night of May 22nd, 1992, Betty Wilson returned home immediately after her Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. She had some last-minute packing to do for a vacation she was taking the next day with her husband. As she walked up the stairs, headed for her bedroom, she found her husband lying in a pool of blood. Clearly, Jack Wilson had been murdered, but how? Experts couldn't agree.
I went up the steps, and as I rounded the top of the stairs with my head down and looking up to turn on the light, I saw Jack lying on the floor.
Betty Wilson immediately ran to a neighbor's house and called 911.
You ever have, or did you walk in the house? Okay, you walk in the house and you saw the person lying on the floor. Who's the person that is? Okay, do you know the person that was in it still inside? I don't know. Okay. You just gotta stand there. You don't come back to your house, okay? And we got an ambulance and we got the police on the way.
The Huntsville, Alabama police arrived at the murder scene within minutes of the call.
Always a white male who appeared to have been beaten and also stabbed. He was laying in a puddle of blood there in the hallway.
Lying next to the body, the apparent murder weapon, a 34-inch long metal baseball bat covered with blood. But police couldn't locate the weapon used to stab him. In Jack Wilson's bedroom, the telephone line had been cut, and a green ski mask was found on top of the bed. They also found an open pistol box with ammunition, but no sign of the gun. There were no indications the Wilson home had been explored for valuables. No drawers had been emptied, no closet searched. Jack Wilson's wallet was on the floor near his shoes. There was no cash inside, but his credit cards were. If the motive wasn't burglary, why was Jack Wilson murdered? Wilson was a 55-year-old eye doctor, very successful, well-known, and well-loved in the community.
I even hate to estimate how many people that Jack treated absolutely free because they needed medical help and they couldn't afford to pay.
Jack and Betty Wilson had been married for about 14 years. Each had 3 children from previous marriages.
We were happy and satisfied with each other. We met every need that I or my children, my grandchildren had. He was a wonderful person.
He was sincere, he was honest, straightforward. He was fun to be with.
As police began searching for clues, homicide detectives learned a shocking piece of information. The county sheriff's office had received a tip just the day before. An informant in the small town of Vincent, Alabama, said she overheard a conversation that a man from Vincent had been hired to kill a doctor. That information led police on a long, convoluted journey from the backwoods of Alabama to one of its finest neighborhoods. It ended in a bitter courtroom dispute because of 2 conflicting interpretations of what happened during Jack Wilson's last moments alive. The body of Jack Wilson was transported to the state medical examiner in Birmingham for a routine autopsy. Dr. Joseph Embry noted a series of lacerations on Wilson's head and a fractured skull. Wilson had also suffered a fractured hyoid bone in his neck and a fractured right shoulder with a puncture wound clearly visible. Both arms were fractured. These were defensive wounds, indicating Wilson tried to fend off his attacker, and there were 2 stab wounds in his abdomen. Officially, the cause of death was listed as blunt force trauma to the head. The Huntsville Police Serology Lab identified the blood found on the bat to be the same blood type as Jack Wilson, but they didn't find any fingerprints. Next, police turned to the information they received before the murder.
We had a concerned citizen in the county that overheard a conversation that Mr. White had stated that he was going to Huntsville over the weekend to kill someone.
Huntsville police drove to Vincent, Alabama, about 100 miles away, to interview James White. He lived in a trailer on the outskirts of town. James White was a handyman at the Vincent Elementary School where his children attended classes. Betty Wilson's twin sister, Peggy Lowe, taught first grade at the same school. White had a past criminal record, a history of drug and alcohol abuse, and a dishonorable discharge from the military. Police interrogated White for 10 hours, and he admitted being inside the Wilson home the night of the murder. Been drinking for the last 3 or 4 days, popping pills, drinking, smoking dope. And all I knew is I wanted to get away. They said, man, got to be with a baseball bat, but I don't remember a baseball bat being around nowhere. But I do remember that I hit the man, he turned me loose. Before police returned to Huntsville, they searched White's trailer. They found a pair of shoes with a blood stain, which later matched Jack Wilson's blood type. In the abandoned house next door, police discovered a revolver, which was registered to Betty Wilson. And in James White's truck, a book of poetry from the Huntsville Public Library, which had been signed out by Betty Wilson. They arrested James White and charged him in the murder of Jack Wilson. Then a shocking explosion. James White told police that Betty Wilson and her twin sister Peggy Lowe had hired him to kill Jack Wilson for $5,000. Betty Wilson and Peggy Lowe were immediately picked up.
Thank God they were both immediately picked up, not Sunbalta and Byron. At Iowa.
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplyta, proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone, building on my progress without starting over. Weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
260 points. That's how much my credit has improved with kickoff. Growing up, I did not have a lot of education on financial literacy. Kickoff really helped to educate on how to improve my credit. There's a reason why over a million people have used kickoff. As soon as my credit went up, I got approved for my high-rise apartment, dropping high ceiling. Kickoff is the easiest way to build credit fast. I can build credit with the rent that I already paid. This is what I started. This is where I'm at. I signed up in a minute. Download kickoff and get started today.
This is Sam. He works at Linux. Sam is an exceptionally smart guy. But something smart isn't smart enough. So he brings Sam on hypersonics to ask her about propulsion ratios, who then sends a note to Sam and AI, who turned that good idea into a great idea. Because no matter how smart any Sam is, they can never be as smart as all the Sams. Which is why when you put lots of talented people together, you make smart smarter, like us.
For questioning.
The police came, they jerked me around, they jerked my wife and my arm and threw it across the road. And you won't need this where you're going.
As police looked for a motive, rumors surfaced about the unconventional relationship between Jack and Betty Wilson. They lived separate lives with separate bedrooms and not much of a sexual relationship. Betty admitted to police she had a number of affairs while married to Jack. Jack Wilson suffered from Crohn's disease and wore an ostomy bag, which Betty admitted to friends she found repulsive. And in the mind of police, perhaps the strongest motive of all, Betty Wilson would receive the bulk of her husband's $6 million estate. The star witness, James White, about whom there was no case against the sisters, got a deal with the prosecution. He even had it in writing. He would implicate Betty Wilson and Peggy Lowe in return for a reduced sentence. The sisters were tried separately. Betty Wilson went on trial first. According to James White's testimony and the prosecution's interpretation of the autopsy findings, James White entered the Wilsons' home and waited in one of the upstairs bedrooms. Jack Wilson arrived home around 5 p.m. and neighbors saw him step out to the front yard to hammer a campaign poster into the lawn with a baseball bat. He then walked back inside the house and headed upstairs to his bedroom. White says he changed his mind and decided not to murder Wilson, but as he was leaving, encountered him in the hallway. The two struggled. White grabbed the baseball bat and struck Wilson in the head. He was then stabbed twice in the abdomen. White said Betty Wilson met him outside and drove him to his truck. However, police forensic experts found no evidence of White's hair, clothing fibers, or even a fingerprint inside Betty Wilson's car. Lacking any strong physical evidence, the prosecution attacked Betty Wilson's character, and they subpoenaed one of her ex-lovers to testify about their adulterous relationship. The jury found Betty Wilson guilty of capital murder, and she was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole.
I think Miss Wilson was convicted on her personal conduct. But she couldn't have been convicted on the evidence. I mean, the physical evidence was not there.
The prosecution's next sentence tried Betty's twin sister for the same crime. All of the witnesses and evidence against her was the same, but what they hadn't bargained for was the testimony of the defense expert who would drop a forensic bombshell that Jack Wilson was not murdered in the way the prosecution said. 8 months after Betty Wilson was convicted of murder for hire, her twin sister, Peggy Lowe, went on trial for the same crime. This time, the prosecution couldn't attack the defendant's lifestyle. Peggy Lowe was a first-grade school teacher. She and her husband were active in the local church, and she was even the lead singer.
I'll talk to y'all tomorrow.
She had
The joy of whole room freshness. Glade Plug-in Scented Oil Fan.
All around you don't even know it.
It's the only freshener to use a continuous built-in fan.
It's just there in the air.
Unlike some fresheners that seem strong just around the outlet, the Glade fan continuously circulates fragrance throughout your whole room.
This shit'll blow your motherfucking mind. Magic everywhere in this bitch.
Plug-in Scented Oil Fan from Glade. The
pure motherfucking magic
of fragrance.